Good afternoon, Bahamas. Pleasant good afternoon to my law enforcement brothers all across the Bahamas. I want to address you all on a few items, and I have several questions for Mr. Dames. But what I want to first advise my Prime Minister is to be careful. Be careful of Mr. Marvin Dames, because Marvin Dames is not a trained policeman. If one would look at what the court have already ruled against him based on the advice he gave, and the court ruling, one will come to the conclusion based on what the magistrate has said about him. I leave that like that. You come to your own conclusion too. But what I want to say about Mr. Dames is the fact that Mr. Dames is a Pontius Pilate leader who opened, in my view, a Pandora box. And so since he opened this Pandora box about corruption and deficiencies and questionable action by police officers, let's clean the entire slate and let us all start anew. So let's start anew. Now that I have already addressed the audit report, and we all realize who was responsible for the discipline of the organization and the deficiencies that exist. And we all realize it was nothing to do with the lower ranks. It's all to do with the persons in brown. We don't need to go no further. So let's move on and leave that to the authorities on how they decide to move forward. But what I want Mr. Dames to do now, let's move to the next level of audit. Let's audit all back. Let's audit all back. The Bahamas and the entire world will be shocked as to what went on and is going on at our back. Let me ask Mr. Dames a few questions. He can answer. You don't have the answer to me. You don't have the answer from me. But answer it for the Bahamian people. How come we only see Bahamians being halted before our courts? How is it that large amount of drugs just drop pops up into the Bahamas? Where did it come from? Who bought it here? How did it get in this country? And so much? Undetected? To me, that sounds impossible. Why aren't we detecting this in other jurisdictions? Why aren't the interdiction occurring elsewhere, only in the Bahamas? We don't manufacture no drugs. When you look at the amount of bills that comes in, you know you can't grow that in the Bahamas. And with all the modern technology, how is it that it's being undetected and interdicted in the Bahamas? And only Bahamians are being halted before the court. These are questions I had put to Mr. Ferguson. I put the Reggie before, and he couldn't answer the questions back in the early 90s. I left the force in January, and still the questions still weren't answered, and still cannot be answered. I know they can be answered, but they refuse to answer the question. But I asked Mr. Dames to tell the Bahamian people how all this drugs is just popping up in the Bahamas. With all this modern technology. Tell the Bahamian people who brought it here. Where did it come from? Where is the intended destination? How come it never gets to the intended destination? It always ends up in the Bahamas, and the interdiction happens in the Bahamas. Well, it's amazing. It's just amazing. Who pays for the drugs? And in what currency does it pay? The persons are paid in these drugs, or with these drugs, or from these drugs. How is it? from my experience, all interdiction that I have done over the last, from 1989 to 2000, it was only American currencies. Like the persons on the street were saying, only dead presidents. That's what they were paid with. American money. So how come they cannot detect their money laundering problems in their country, and the money ends up in the Bahamas and other jurisdictions, and they cannot detect it? But today, you had a money laundering seminar for 2 weeks in this country. It's laughable. It's unbelievable to see that happening. Tell the Bahamian people which grouping of interdiction officers receives a percentage from every drug bust that happens, and tell them how much. Does he think this practice has corrupted or bad? Ask Mr. Dames. Who gets the promotion as a payback? Answer those few questions. Then I will put some more questions to Mr. Dames, because I know he will not answer it. Let's deal with corruption at all levels. Don't care who it is and where they are from. Give the lower ranks of the Royal Bahamas Police Force what they are entitled to for what they worked so hard and for so long for. Withdraw the action out of the Supreme Court. This is what a grateful nation and a caring government would do. Action speaks louder than word. Mr. Dames, answer those questions. Then I'll bring more questions that you can answer for the Bahamian people, so they will be enlightened to what's happening in their country. Because at the end of the day, they will have the full brunt of what's happening in this country. And if it isn't done now, we will lose this country. That's what I want to tell the Bahamian people. Mr. Dames, answer those questions, and I'll bring the rest to you. Thank you.